right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week, or rather, 3 reviews, 1 impressions. The first, and we're starting off with the impressions. Uh, and the game up is Vampire Survivors. Now, this is actually a game you might have heard about in the past few months. Seems to be some kind of indie sensation. Um, I know I've been hearing the name bandied about here and there over the past few months, and apparently it's inspiring some other games, and it's got a footprint, if nothing else. I'm guessing that some major YouTubers or Twitch streamers have gotten a hold of it. It's definitely not Among Us levels of popularity or something like that, but it's it's got a buzz. Now, putting that aside, what is Vampire Survivors? Well, it describes itself as a roguelike with minimalistic gameplay, and I think that's a good way of putting it, because I suppose framed another way, it's kind of a walking simulator, in that the only real action that you do in the game is walk. But because all of your attacks are automated.
We reviewed another game with that mechanic actually last season. I don't even remember the title, but yeah, the walk around in a populated random field as enemies move toward you from all directions, and you attack basically on a timer and in either set directions or the direction you're facing.
And this is on the rogue light side of the equation, as in a lot of upgrades are permanent, which you buy with gold, which you can find strewn about the field, or much more profitably in treasure chests. And the way things play out in terms of progression is, well, you kill enemies, you grab the blue gems, and you level up, and you'll have access to several weapons. There are currently 7 characters in the game. I unlocked one of them. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if they're going to add more characters. I know more content is coming. Like, in terms of gameplay additions and all that, I think everything here is implemented. It's more like adding things like an actual story mode. So it's not that kind of early access game. So at least that's what the plan is with their notes. It being an early access game, things can change. Depending on... Yeah, okay, here we go. The full version will have more characters, stages, weapons, and RPG elements, and new major features like a story mode and arcanas. Sounds like a magic system is coming. But what is here is fairly serviceable, and I'll admit novel to a point. Because you don't have to worry about firing off your weapons. It's more a different kind of timing, actually. You have to be aware of how fast your whip goes, or how long your axes are coming out, or whatever weapons you have selected, along with your movement speed. There is still quite a bit of strategy. Don't get me wrong here. It's just different from your usual mold, which is probably a big reason why this game has been catching on. Because Lord knows we have covered a lot of roguelike things on this channel over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But this still stands out for its, I wouldn't have guessed that automated gameplay would be the stroke of genius that it was.
I mean, it's not actually as automated as it sounds like from my experience with the similar game, because if anything, it means you really have to manage your timing and your positioning and the timing of your positioning and facing very carefully to be able to effectively, hit things and not die.
Your movement isn't automated. Your attacks are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think your defenses might be as well. Because like one of the things that the starting dude can get is garlic. No. That being said, play times are usually going to be pretty short. I could average out about 10 minutes. Usually dying when the second monster circle showed up. Though I'll be honest, 10 minutes felt very filling to me with this kind of game. Like,
yeah, that was the problem I found with the one that was like it, is that there's kind of limited engagement when there's limited actual things that you're in charge of.
right, and it's also, it needs a bit more randomization, I think, because while the monsters themselves are obviously randomly generated to a point, they show up at very specific times and very specific upgrades. So it's not that fresh every time you play. Like, this is definitely one of the lesser random kind of roguelikes I've played, at least in recent memory.
I mean, like, I guess the exact positions of the trees are probably randomized, and
Possibly, but
somewhat the angles from which enemies come from, but
everything's so nondescript.
Yeah, the one that I played definitely had more terrain than this.
Yeah. And from what I've been gathering from the notes here, it doesn't look like they're going to be changing that aspect up. And I do think that's something that's holding this game back. Because this game gets a lot staler than I was expecting. Or this could be a subjective thing, But I find, like I said, this is the kind of game that I would see playing on the Steam Deck if I had one, or I could see this game very much transpositioning to mobile devices or the Nintendo Switch. Feels very portable friendly, and probably would thrive there. I think. See, Petty just unlocked a treasure and got a whole bunch of upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Graphically, it's kind of what you see is what you get. It's even among, I wouldn't exactly call this retro style or low fidelity game. This isn't much of a looker. It's some pretty plain graphics, if I'm being honest, and artwork for that matter. Music is once again good, but can be repetitive. As really only one track playing during gameplay, and it'll get in your head Calliope style. It just keeps playing and playing and playing. Once again, not necessarily bad, but this is what I would, sum up the game. It's limited, and I get that it's going for that. It says it's got minimalistic gameplay, but I think it's a bit too staid for its own good, at least right now. But its concepts are solid, and its overall gameplay is, it's good. It's fine. But I'd be lying if I said I fully got this game. Like, I don't get why it's the sensation that it is. Anyway, so in terms of pricing, now is a good time to pick this game up because it's $3, which is we're talking cup of coffee pricing here. Even if you don't like it, it's $3. And it's also, this game is expected to have a lot of content added to it, and the price will go up. And this game didn't have any slowdown or crashes or anything like that, so it's stable. It's it's one of those early access games that's in early access while content is being added more than gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
We've experienced games like that before. Probably chief among them was Dead Cells.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had that in early access. Yeah. So yeah, my impressions are very solid game, very cheap. It's worth a pickup now. You may have more enjoyment from it than I had. Let's see. So, any questions, comments, or concerns over Vampire Survivors here?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
How many vampires do you have to survive?
All of them.
Till you
Dang.
don't.
That's a big number of vampires, probably.
Look at the screen. You're always surrounded by enemies.
I'm reminded of a joke whatever it was, about how vampires can't be seen in mirrors, and most telescopes use mirrors. The reason they use mirrors and telescopes is because space is full of vampires.
Not a very funny joke. Anyway,
it's more of a weird, I guess. I don't know. Or it's in the presentation, which I'm terrible at.
Possibly. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for Vampire Survivors. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Way of the Hunter.